Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. It is about that time to do another monthly TBR, and while I know you guys love the TBR board game, we're gonna go back to our roots today and do a little TBR prompt jar. I thought it'd be fun just to spice it up. This gives us a lot of different prompts, whereas the TBR board game is a bit more generalized, so hopefully that will lead to some fun and unexpected picks. I am absolutely shocked to say that I managed to read the majority of my February TBR. I am less than 30 days away from my wedding, and I really didn't know what to expect from myself whenever it came to reading. I have found that I'm not really in the mood to make additional decisions, so having a set TBR is helpful because it gives me a guide on what books to pick up next. Last month I did 6 books on the TBR. Let's just stick with 5 today, set ourselves up for success, and let's go ahead and hop on in. I'm going to go ahead and mix these up. There's like 30 or 40 prompts in here. I don't know why it looks so empty, but let's see what book number 1 is going to be. Here we go. Our first pick of March is going to be a young adult read. I gotta say, I'm not too mad about this because obviously generally young adult reads a bit easier. I'm already feeling pretty good about this TBR because I know exactly what I want to pick up for this. This might seem really rogue considering I really didn't like the first book, but I'm going to continue on with the Natural series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes and read Killer Instinct. And if you watched my 24-hour readathon, you'll know that I really hated book 1, The Naturals. I just really don't know if serial killer mysteries are for me. I'm a little bit of a simp. I get scared very easily, so I'm gonna give book 2 a go. And if I end up DNFing this, that is completely fine. I have a friend who's coming to visit for the wedding, and I think she would really like this series. So if I end up not liking this and need to unhaul it, I'm just gonna give her this book set whenever she's here. For anyone that hasn't heard of the Natural series before, it follows a group of teenagers who were all brought together by the FBI because of their natural abilities. Book 1, we followed Cassie, who is the newest addition to the group. And while their purpose generally is to solve cold cases, Cassie's past ended up playing a role in an active investigation, which the group of teens all work to solve. The main thing that I specifically didn't like about book 1 is you do get perspectives in the mind of the serial killer. And this serial killer in specific was targeting young women, and I didn't love it. It didn't make me feel great. I will say that the case from book 1 did feel pretty wrapped up. So I think we're going to be following someone different in this one. Hopefully this doesn't give me as much of the heebie-jeebies, but I guess we shall see. And this will be the first book that we add to our March TBR. Okay, gonna do a little shake and time for book 2. Here we go. This is an author that you've never read from before. Okay, not too mad about this. A huge focus for me in 2025 is to read from new authors, so I should have quite a few options here, keeping in mind that I don't want to stray too far from my comfort zone, and also definitely don't want to take on anything too difficult considering how busy this month is going to be. So there are like 7 different authors up here that I haven't read from, but I'm gonna pick like my top 3. I know that DeWitt's books are just kind of like spicy, fun times, and I think Destiny Sitwell just recently read this book and rated it pretty highly. These are also on Kindle Unlimited, so that is my absolute favorite because I love the ability to read in bed. So these are pretty high contenders. I also almost picked this book up in my most recent 24-hour readathon. This is The Love of My Afterlife by Kirsty Greenwood. One, I absolutely love this cover. I said this in that reading vlog, but if you've ever watched The Good Place, this book's premise kind of feels similar. Our FMC in this book actually passes away, and while she's in the waiting room of the afterlife, I think she meets the love of her life, or she gets the opportunity to go back to Earth and meet the love of her life for a second chance. Obviously there's going to be some magical realism at play because I'm not sure exactly how that works, but it does just seem like a fun, silly time. And probably the next highest on my radar would be You Belong With Me by Vari McFarlane. This is on my 2025 TBR and is highly rated by Haley Pham, who is originally who put this on my radar. I do think generally this author's books are a little bit more emotional, so I think this is going to be the one I'm most likely putting back. And that would leave us with these 3 to pick from. I gotta say, I'm an absolute sucker for Kindle Unlimited. So let's take a look at these 2 books and see which premise seems a little bit better. For the co-op, this looks like it's a somewhat second chance romance where our 2 main characters had a fling as a teen, but their grandmothers leave them with shared ownership of this building, and they are thrust together in this marriage of convenience in an attempt to rebuild this property. Savor, it follows a hotshot chef from New York City who ends up going to this small coastal Morgantown in an attempt to rebuild his reputation. It is also blurbed by Julie Soto that says it's deliciously sexy. If Schitt's Creek and The Bear had a love child, it would be this book. And I think that's going to be enough to make me choose this. If you don't know, Julie Soto is my most recent obsession. Read both of her books in January, loved them both. So if she has good things to say about this, I'm going to trust her opinion and add Savor It to my TBR. Okay, so far I would say the TBR jar is being kind to me. Both of those should be pretty quick and easy reads. So let's see what we have in store next. I really hope I didn't just jinx myself. Book 3 is... Don't really think I've ever had a prompt like this before, but published in 2024. I feel like the Belladonna series is recently published, so let me see what Foxglove is. Okay, I feel like I could bend the rules here. Foxglove was originally released in 2023, but the paperback edition was in 2024. So potentially if we have to bend some rules, we can use this one. I don't feel like any of these are like super new releases other than maybe Lightlark. Lightlark was released in 2023. I wouldn't mind getting to Rebel Witch this month, but that was published in 2025. What the heck was published last year? You with a View by Jessica Joyce. First edition in 2023. Great. Love of My Afterlife. Aha! First edition, July 2024. Before I have to start pushing my boundaries into books I really don't want to get to, let's just go ahead and add The Love of My Afterlife. I already gave you guys the synopsis. I think this is going to be a fun, silly time. And ideally, third book we're going to be reading in March. Okay, our fourth book is this one. Oh, okay. If I can get this to focus, a 5-star prediction. Okay, so we have done a lot of romance. I would say while I am hopeful about a lot of these, I think most of them are going to be either a 4 or a 4.5. I do have something in my fantasy section that I think is going to be a 5-star, and I haven't forced myself to break into the fantasy genre this month so far. So I think we're going to pick up Rebel Witch by Kristen Ciccarelli. I am so excited for this book. It just came out the other day. This is book 2 in the Crimson Moth series following Heartless Hunter, which is an angsty and delicious fantasy novel between a witch and a witch hunter. Book 1 left us off on an amazing cliffhanger. This is only a duology, so the story is going to be completely wrapped up from here. I gave book 1 a 4 stars, but it was a very strong 4 stars. I enjoyed my time so thoroughly. I think based off of the reviews I've seen other people say that this is going to be a 5 star, and I'm so excited to add this to my TBR. And that would mean it's time for our final prompt. I want to make sure I get a good one, so I'm really mixing these up. Prompt number 5. Okay, luckily this gives us a ton of options. Even page number. So this honestly feels like a free pick because I just need to make sure it ends in an even number, which shouldn't be too hard to achieve. I would ideally continue on with my Throne of Glass reading, and by the time March starts, I will be into the tandem read, starting with Empire of Storms, but this book ends on page 689, so I won't be able to use this one. I am really excited for You with a View by Jessica Joyce. This ends on page 348. Okay, so this is definitely a top contender here. I really do want to stay away from my fantasy section. I just don't think now's the time and place. Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez is also on Kindle Unlimited. Let's see. This one is a bit longer, but it ends on page 405. So this isn't gonna work. I think we just listen to my gut. I think we go with You with a View by Jessica Joyce. I'm very excited to get to this one because I read The X-Files by Jessica Joyce last month, and that was the most exquisite 5-star read. Absolutely obsessed with her writing style. So I'm really excited to read another one of her romances. The blurb says, 2 formal high school enemies must reunite for a road trip inspired by their grandparents' broken engagement in this electric debut romance. Obviously in romances, are things ever really enemies to lovers? But it looks like we're gonna get a little rivals to lovers romance. And I have heard that the grandparents' history within this one is really sweet, and they go on a road trip to take the honeymoon their grandparents planned but never got to carry out. There's a catch though. Paul, Theo's grandfather, asked to come with her, and he insists that Theo join them. I am curious how this one's gonna go versus The X-Files since this is her debut. Hopefully there's not too many kinks she was working through in this one, but I am really excited since I loved her other books so much. So So as the prompt jar wanted, this is going to be our March TBR. I'm shocked to say that I think I am actually going to read all of these books. I think we definitely set ourselves up for success. So for a rapid fire of our picks. For our young adult selection, we are going with Killer Instincts by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. For an author I've never read from before, I'm going to pick up Savor by Tarah DeWitt. For something published in 2024, I'm going to be reading The Love of My Afterlife by Kirsty Greenwood. For a 5-star prediction, we get to read a new release, which is Rebel Witch by Kristen Ciccarelli. And for something that ends in an even number of pages, we have You with a View by Joyce. Alrighty guys, thanks so much for sticking along while we set our March TBR. I am very excited for this month ahead, not only because I think we have some really good books, but also I'm gonna become a married woman. So March is gonna be a really fun time. Make sure to like and subscribe for not only some book content, but we're gonna sprinkle in a little bit of wedding content as well. But for now, this is where I will love you and leave you. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye guys.